Severe pain, numbness, and weakness are some of the reasons why many of us land up going in for spinal surgery. Something has gone wrong that has caused nerve irritation or compression. So we have these surgeries and we wake up often feeling a whole lot better than before we went in because that numbness or that pain has been alleviated to a large extent. But if you're like me, I landed up leaving that surgery not having a clue that I was about to experience a whole wave of different nerve irritation or neuropathy symptoms that I wasn't expecting to. You know, it's an interesting thing because we think that if we've got nerve compression, they're going to release it and off we go back with our lives once we've recovered from the operation itself. But think about it logically. Often it's been months or even years that this nerve has been compressed. If it's got to bounce back, it's going to respond. It's going to be irritated. Also, when that surgeon is busy in our back, he or she will be moving nerves aside, maybe even flossing it through facet joints to make sure that it's moving correctly, whatever that may be. There's one thing that the nervous system absolutely detests. It's being handled and it's going to respond. Then when we're recovering from surgery, we get things like inflammation or scar tissue being formed at the surgical site that also can rub against and irritate the nerve. Not only that, but we take medications for pain and for nerve impulses. And once we start withdrawing from that medication, it can set off a whole wave of new neuropathy symptoms that we never thought we'd experience. So the result of all of this is that the nervous system now has to do three things. And we have to be patient through this because it takes a long, long time. The first is it needs to repair some of the damage that has been caused. And you know, it would be great if it could all be repaired. Some gets repaired, some get somewhat repaired, and others just never gets repaired. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but we're talking about a 12 to 18 month process to heal nerves because they only grow at an average of 1 millimeter per day, which is around 1 inch a month. Then the second thing that needs to happen is that we need to re-establish these communication paths in our neural system. So basically rewiring the whole system. And what's super common is that these nerve impulses begin to misfire. It's completely chaotic while it tries to settle into new patterns, and it takes a long time to do this. And then the last thing is we need to teach our nervous systems that they are now safe and no longer under siege. The issue is that your nervous system takes a long time to get this memo. It stays in this hyperreactive state where it just wants to be in fight or flight the whole time. I'm almost at 18 months, and what I'm finding still is that if I do something where I move suddenly that was unexpected or I overexert myself in exercise, immediately I start to tense up and spasm up because the nervous system just doesn't yet realize that it can actually trust me and just calm down. But what does all this actually feel like in the body? First thing, numbness. Many of us are like victims of this numbness with nerve compression. And some of the numbness may recover over time. I found a lot of it did. I still have dead areas, especially down my right leg. But I mean, it's been 3 surgeries. There was a lot of scar tissue as well. Other people also experience continued weakness or even things like drop foot. Then you get these random stabbing electrical jolts, pins sticking in your legs and hips constantly. Something like an insect crawling over the skin or cold water running up and down through my limbs or my veins. Even a feeling of an electrical current running under the surface of the skin. The worst one for me, 100% the worst one, was the full body jitters though, and this is quite common. Mine was from a period of 6 to 12 weeks. So that 6-week period after that fusion surgery was like hell because it would hit me in the middle of the night. So I'd go to sleep and my husband would say that like within an hour, I would start twitching and kicking and tossing and turning as my body was just not coping at all with these jitters. I hardly slept for those 6 weeks, and when you're supposed to be getting rest, it made it really, really difficult, but it is something that's quite normal and it will pass in time. Other feelings could be like you plugged into the electrical socket and you've got this buzzing or this humming running through your body. You can get muscle spasms, which can then cause radiating pain because those muscles are grabbing around those nerves. I'd get this feeling of like an elastic band being stretched over the top of my foot, and it still happens when my body is a little bit more tired. Also, burning or cold sensations in the legs and the feet. Okay, so I have a few tips and tricks on how to manage the nervous system. Okay, and these will be especially useful for you in the first few months when the symptoms are at their worst. Number 1, avoid overstimulating the nervous system. Too much alcohol, caffeine, and sugar, too much screen time, watching the news before bed. Don't do that. Even if you don't have nervous problems, don't do that. And even making sure that you don't take medications like sinus medications that are non-drowsy, that are packed with caffeine. I had that experience, didn't know what was going on, and the pharmacist said to me, this is non-drowsy sinus medication. You can't be taking it when you're trying to regulate your nerves. The second thing is there are activities that you can do, like deep breathing and stretches that calm everything down. I would have a bedtime routine that I would do these stretches, breathe deeply, get myself into parasympathetic nervous system states, and also have the vagus nerve regulated through all of this, and I would sleep a whole lot better. And when I was feeling particularly jittery and particularly overstimulated, wrap a super soft blanket around myself tightly and go and lie down in the lounge, and I find that tended to help a little bit as well. Then you can take supplements like vitamin B and magnesium glycinate, which is an amino acid attached to the magnesium, which is there to regulate the nervous system as well and calm the nerves. Medications. There are some great medications out there, things like, from what I understand, Lyrica and gabapentin and stuff like that. You'd need that on advice of your doctor. I didn't take them, and there was a good reason for it. I had a horrible withdrawal response to coming off the opioids. I'd managed them so carefully, and I'll do a video on this because I think it needs discussion. But even so, my body went into like overdrive, and I was so scared to put any other medications besides paracetamol in my body after that. And then finally, there's a psychological element. A physiotherapist said to me, you need to try and break these neural pathways that take you into panic, your body into panic. So she said, speak to your nervous system as though it's a part of you, but that you are in charge. So I still do this to this day. If it reacts or tenses up, I'll just say, don't worry. We have done everything right. We've had the surgeries. We've been responsible. We are exercising here because it's a good thing. So I will let you know when it's time to panic, but today is not it. If you keep doing this, you do it a few times, suddenly instead of that response going to panic, it will move towards a position of safety. So those are the things that I did. If I can ask you a favor, we're building such a nice community here. So comment on the things that have worked for you, because there are a lot of people now coming and starting to watch the videos. We're about 1,100 subscribers on the channel, and this is all really helpful, useful information for people who don't know where to turn or wouldn't even know to ask these questions. And the more that we interact in the comments, the more there are likes and subscriptions, the more YouTube then goes and pushes this information to people who really need it. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, I would be very appreciative. And then the other thing I wanted to say is my next video is on constipation. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. So yeah, I'll see you at that one. Thanks so much for watching.